wrote a letter to liberate the captivated soul of Onesimus. And I said, where have I seen this before? Well, John jumped in and said, move, Philemon. Said, in the beginning was the Word.
Come on in, family. Invite your followers. Your midnight midwife.
The Word was made flesh. I said, the Word was made flesh. The letter was made flesh.
Wow. Come join your midnight midwife, y'all. Invite your followers. It's late, but it's good.
Jesus. Wait a minute. Now I understand who Jesus is. Jesus is God's love letter. That when the Adamic fallen nature of man was running away from a mess that he couldn't fix,
Come on in, y'all.
God wrote a love letter. It took him 42 generations to write it.
Come on in. Invite your followers. It's late, but it's good.
Then I started thanking God for the Roman soldier who had an envelope opener. The Bible said that when Jesus was on the cross, see, I didn't know he was a love letter because I was living
Come on in. Come on in. This is good.
couldn't read the letter for the envelope. But when they pierced him in his side, they opened up the letter that started the New Testament.
Come on in.
Liberated my life.
Wow.
That set me free. To God be the glory.
Come on in, y'all.
The only thing standing between me and death was a love letter.
Glory to God. Thank you, Lord.
They stretched him wide.
Yes, they did.
He hung his head. For
Mmm.
me, he died. That's love.
Mmm.
That's love.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you all? How are you all? Thank you all for tuning in. You know, and I thought I would start the scope just with such a powerful revelation. You know, just to close out with what TD Jakes was saying, and I want y'all to take a look at the YouTube where he talks about a love letter. So what is real love? So of course we have several different videos about that, self-esteem, you know, rejection, and all of that. How are you again, Steady Divine? Thank you for joining from Africa. Good deal. So tonight, y'all, we're going to talk about counting the cost, okay? So we all want these big promises. We want these big breakthroughs. But we have to count the cost to those things. Some of us are dealing with inner rejection where we need to be accepted from other people. We need their love. We need their approval. It might be a family member who doesn't understand your doctrine, or who doesn't understand your philosophy, or doesn't understand the change that you want in your life. They think that you should be satisfied with what you already have. They think that you should be good. Hey, Dubai, how are you all? Thank y'all for joining this afternoon. Invite your followers. This is going to be very, very brief and really, really good. So they think that you should be satisfied with what you have, and they don't understand why you're breaking into another realm. They don't understand why you're doing things outside of the family protocol. You know, here it is, you've been in a relationship and you've been dedicated to this person, and this person don't understand why you're ready for the next level. You're ready to be committed. You're ready to go back to school. You're ready to be a millionaire. You're ready to invest. You're ready to get out of something other than just labor, because you're ready to, you know, just soar and be who God is calling you to be. And I'm reminded of a story in the Bible where Elisha was plowing the field. You know, he was plowing the field and he was doing everything, you know, that his family wanted him to do. You know, he was doing everything, plowing the field, working right next to another person, and, you know, just doing the mundane thing. And so when Elijah came, he dropped the plow and he ran after Elijah. He ran after that thing that was in his belly, that thing that was in his gut that he could not talk to his family about because they didn't understand it. He could not talk to his coworkers about it because they would probably, reject him or judge him. So there is something in your gut tonight. There's something that you've been wrestling with. There's something that you've been struggling with. There's something that you want to come to the surface, but because you're bound by needing the approval of other people, because you're concerned about what your family is going to say, you're concerned about what your wife is going to think, you're concerned about the failure. But I'm here to let you know that if you were going to fail, then God would have never placed that desire deep down on the inside of you. It is not the failure or the fear of failure that's holding you back. It is your needs. It is the voids that you're getting fulfilled in wrong places by wrong people. You cannot worry about what people have to say. When you have a seed deep down on the inside of you, you have to just trust your gut feeling. Accept yourself, even when your family don't understand. Go for it no matter what it looks like. You cannot have the promise until you are ready to count the cost. Some of us, it's like I see this big old fan in the spirit. It's like we want everything. We want the approval of man. We want the approval of people. We want to make our family happy. We want to, have the success, but then we want to go to sleep every night at 10 o'clock. Here it is. We want to be business owners, but you want your beauty rest. It costs you something to be the owner. It costs you something to go back to school and be the first one to graduate, no matter if they do, judge you because of it. It costs you to be different. Success costs you something. So before you get in the ring to break your generational curse, because everybody in your family have not made it to make $1 million, or they've not got out of the renter's mentality, or they've not decided to go back to school, or they're good with having a baby daddy instead of a husband. And when you're ready to break out of that, understand that you're breaking not only into a physical realm, but it's spiritual. So every spirit that was connected to that generational curse is going to rise up against you. But if you can hold back your tears, if you can look unto God where your help comes from, if you could stop looking to men and their approval or what they want you to do, where they're trying to compare you because they're not married or because they didn't graduate or because they're living paycheck to paycheck. If you could not worry about the judgment of friends or pleasing people, if you could accept yourself wholeheartedly, if you could see yourself in the spirit and know how beautifully and well divine God has created and orchestrated you, every thought that you have, if you could understand that, then guess what? You could jump in there with your head held high and you could get the prize. And then what looked so different, what made you look so awkward, what caused people to reject you, they will begin to ask you, hey, how did you do it? How did you do it? So I want to say tonight, we have to count the costs. We want to be the big boss. We want to listen to the rap music where they got all of this money. We want to be, the woman that looks like a diva, that has it together. We want to drive these fancy cars. We want to be the business owner. We want to be the wife. We want to be the husband. But you know what? You want to be the wife. But do you want to go through that alone season and hide yourself where you're single and you're prostrate before God? And you're asking him to change you, to prepare you for the husband that he has for you. We want to be the wife, and that's what is the concern here. Do you really, you want to be the wife, but yet look at how you treat your family. We walk over our family. We walk over our friends. A lot of us don't have love for one another. We don't support each other. But yet we want God to send us a total stranger to embrace him and his family. Yet we want God to send us a total stranger to embrace her and her family. But we're not doing the work to love the sister that God has given us, to embrace the brother that God has given us, to cater to the mother that God has given us. But yet we want to look over these people so that we can go embrace a whole nother family and pray for those promises, that God would give us a whole nother family to love. But what are we doing with the family that he's given us? So do we really want to count the cost? And that's what we have to do, y'all. Let's count the cost. Let's make the changes. Let's get rid of the bitterness. Let's get rid of the unforgiveness. Because you know what? When you get this promise, don't think that it's going to be perfect. Don't think that when that marriage comes, you're not going to have to pray over that marriage, fast over that marriage, forgive that spouse because they're not going to be perfect. Forgive your sister-in-law. Forgive your brother-in-law. Don't think that you're not going to have to go through that. So the practice makes perfect. So we want the marriages. We want the millions. We want the businesses. We want the education, but we don't want to cut back on the job that we have so that we can finish the classes, so that we can graduate. So y'all, the truth is we have to count the cost. The fact is you cannot have it all. But if you go through your alone season, if you go through the season where you are sowing and it looks like you're not getting the harvest because you're not reaping the harvest right away. When you're sowing into your education, of course, going to school, you're not necessarily getting paid for that. But if you can get past that season of not getting the payment right away, guess what? You can get to that promise. You can get to that breakthrough. But in order to do that, you're going to have to accept the possibility. Thank you so much, Steady Divine. I appreciate the love and support. Count the cost and it's right back at you, okay? Thank you. So if we can get that love and that approval, not just from man, but we need to get that love from God. Get that acceptance from ourselves. So even when they look at us crazy because we left a good job to go back to school, even when they look at us crazy because we left a good relationship because we wanted a commitment and we were looking for marriage, even if they look at you crazy because you're tired of renting in an apartment and you desire a house, even when they're hating on you, even when they're jealous of you and they don't have your approval, you don't have their approval. You know what? God has called me in that area. Thank you for that question. Yes, he has. So even when you don't have their acceptance and their approval, can you still stand? Can you still stand on what's inside of your gut? And you know who I want to talk about that stood when everything was against him? When people spit on him. Thank you so much. I received that. I appreciate that. Deva. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got you. The person who stood, and also Divine, I appreciate you, Steady Divine, as well. Thank you. The person that had to stand when people spat on him, when people nailed him on the cross, when people didn't even understand his prophecies. They didn't understand what was he saying that he was the Son of God. What was he saying that he was the Son of Man? When the Pharisees judged him because he turned the tables over, because he did not want them turning the church into a pack of dens where people were just making money and feeding off of the sheep of God. When he had to flee and disappear out of nowhere because they was coming to kill him too soon before his time. When the disciples questioned him. And even when the lawyers asked him condescending questions such as, who is my brother? You know, who is, and he gave an example of the Good Samaritan. So when people were sarcastic to him, when people beat him, when people put a crown of thorns on his head, and they put a crown of thorns and crowned him king of Israel, they laughed at him. They made fun of him. He still stood, not having the approval of man, but above all, following the word that was in his gut, listening to the Holy Spirit that was in his soul, abiding by what he knew that was beyond a shadow of a doubt was the right thing to do. They even asked him, who is this? Isn't this the carpenter's son? They were telling him, look, why don't you know your dad is a carpenter? You're in the wrong field. And he had to go against what his family was known for and still go out on a limb and go with his gut feeling. If Jesus had to count the cost to win the prize, to win the promise, because now guess what? He's in heaven and he's not wearing a crown of thorns, believe me. Seated at the right-hand side of the Father, with all power and authority in his hand. That was because if he had to count the cost to get the promise that he has right now, surely you're going to have to count the cost. Surely I am going to have to count the cost. So you say you want to be the boss. So you say you want to write the checks. So you say you want to be the wife. You want to be the mother. You want to be the business owner. You want that master's degree, right? You want them to call you doctor. You want to write that book. You want to open that business. I got it. I see. You want to start this volunteer program. It might even be something starting off, you know, despise not the humble beginnings. You want to start that prayer team. That's right. You start that prayer team. It's easy to start it. But are you going to make that sacrifice to be there every week to start everybody in prayer, even when you don't feel like it? Are you going to be there every week when nobody shows up but you? Are you going to be faithful to till that ground? Are you going to speak against every spirit that has been sent to drive you out of that land? Are you going to rebuke the devourer? Are you going to go against your own flesh and blood? Because, y'all, that's a test to decide, can you stand to be blessed? If you cower down to needing the approval of man, you may never make it to your promised land. If we cower down trying to follow the regime of our family, if Jesus did that, he would have been nothing more than just a carpenter's son. If we give into needing to be loved by any old body, then guess what? We may never count the cost to leave them to be loved by the right somebody. Hallelujah. You want to write the book, but do you want to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning and then have to turn around and get back ready for work? You want to have the kids, but do you want to go to that hospital? So only thing I'm saying to you is, in all that you do, count the cost. Because whether you know the cost going in, whether you know the cost from the beginning, trust me, there is one. And for every good thing, there is a cost that comes with it. But be not dismayed, be not discouraged. God is not mocked. If you would follow him, if you would follow his leading, if you would break out from the pack, it was the middle cornerstone that the builders rejected. That became the key cornerstone. So if you can look at their faces, if you can listen to their comments, if you can look at the storm that looks like everything is falling apart and failing, And people are laughing at you. Why are you still paying tithes? Why are you still going to church? Why are you still believing in God? And you might be dealing with a foreclosure, might be dealing with a marriage that's on the rocks, might be dealing with a wayward child, and you're still praying and you're still believing. When you hang in there and weather that storm, it is because you are paying the cost that is necessary, that's going to serve as your down deposit for your next level, for your higher breakthrough, for the next place that God has for you, which is going to be a blessing that eyes have not seen, nor have ears heard, all that God is going to do for you. So family, I'm here to tell you that we have to be willing to sacrifice. Cain, it's a way with the Cain generation. Here it is. Cain wanted to pay the sacrifice that he wanted to pay. He wanted to give God a sacrifice of vegetables, a sacrifice of his fruit. But God was looking for an animal, a blood sacrifice. So guess what? He's the same God even today. He don't want you to give him something that's easy. Somebody at Burger King, here it is. And Burger King is definitely a blessed job to have. But, here it is, you run into a stranger in Burger King. Oh, you'll be willing to be rejected by them. But you can't stand to be rejected by your family or to be ostracized by your coworkers. Well, God is not going to ask you to pay for a sacrifice that doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost you anything to be rejected by somebody that you don't know at Burger King. It costs you. That's a blood sacrifice when you can accept the rejection from your family. And that's the sacrifice that God is looking for. That's a blood sacrifice when you can walk away from a relationship that you love that person and you know that person loved you. But here it is, you want more from God. That's a blood sacrifice when you can volunteer to go to school and you know you're not getting paid right then and there, but you're making that sacrifice for your future. So the same way, thank you. I would enjoy being your counselor. I am a licensed counselor. I would love to be your counselor. So the same way, God did not accept that fake sacrifice from Cain. And God told him, he said, why have your countenance fallen, Cain? He said, surely if you do what I'm asking you to do, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, I will bless you just like I'm blessing Abel, just like I'm accepting Abel's sacrifice. But Cain decided to give what he wanted to give. And because he did not give the sacrifice that God was looking for, it did not yield any dividends. So if you think that continuing to be accepted by your family, if you think that continuing to not being, stepping out on a limb and needing the approval of other people, if you think that that is going to get you into the promised land, be reminded of what happened to Cain. It actually caused him to go into sin, caused him to be bitter of the people that was making the right sacrifice. And guess what he said in the end? He said, you know what? The penalty that you are giving me, God, is greater than what I can bear. So y'all, do we want to go through the pain of not sacrificing and end up tormented like Cain? Or do we want to go through that season of sacrifice just like Jesus did, and go through that season of promise? So be not dismayed. God is not mocked. He sees everything. Just like the lady that was at the church, God said he looked at the ladies with the widow's mite, I think it was, and she gave a small sacrifice, but it was everything that she had. So when you give God everything that you have, your late nights, standing in the gap in prayer, being ostracized, having to go through a new territory all by yourself, maybe not even having the support of man, but being armed with the approval of God. When you step into that place, God will open up a window that you don't have room to receive. Because just like he honored Abel's sacrifice, just like he honored Jesus' sacrifice, our God is a God who honors sacrifice. Make the sacrifice, y'all. Cut the screens. Cut the self-doubt. Cut the self-pity. Cut the rejection from other people, and receive that love and acceptance from God. And watch he turn your situation around. Watch your promise come through. Watch your breakthrough be greater than what you had in mind. So, you want the house? You want the car? You want the husband? You want to be the author? You want the master's degree, the doctor's degree on the wall? You want the children? You want the Mercedes Benz? You want the money in the bank? You want to be the boss, right? You want to write the checks? I get it. But when everybody forsake you, will you still stand? When people talk about you and reject you, will you still fight? I get it. You want it all. But my question to you tonight is, have you counted the cost? Because whether you know it or not, when you first start out, there is one. Thank you all for tuning in with us tonight. Thank you so much, Steady Divine. Thank you, Maze. Thank you, Miss Lynn. I saw you sneaking in on the scope, Lynn. God bless you and your husband, lady. Thank you so much for your comments. Awesome Spirit. Guess what? Back at you for your love and your support. Steady Divine, I know your hand is hurting from all these hearts that you've been pumping up. But I want to say thank you, and I love you back. Thank you for your hearts. Y'all, you know, the cost of success is sometimes long nights, sometimes lonely nights, sometimes being misunderstood. You know, but we have to jump out in the deep, just like Elijah did. All the great people jumped out in the deep. And it does not matter how you start. It matters how you finish. So guess what? That's right. You got to jump. You got to jump. That's it. So it doesn't matter how you start. It matters how you finish. So even though you're up late tonight, or depending on where you're at, you're up early, I want you all to ponder on this. Because guess what? I want you to be blessed. This is our sweet 2016. And I want you to be blessed. And when the costs get too heavy, when the storms start raging, guess what? I want you to be strong during those storms. I don't want you to run away. I want you to run to the storm and face it, just like David did Goliath. And guess what? In doing so, he was able to get the promise, and he was crowned king. So sometimes your storm comes not because you're doing wrong, but because you're doing right. God bless you. If they reject you, guess what? I accept you here. I love you here. We don't judge you here. We understand you here. And welcome to www.liveblessglobalministries.com. That is our website. And thank you for visiting us tonight. Live Blessed Global Ministries, where I am RomonicaJones, your Midnight Midwife. Thank you all for the love. Thank you so much. Back at you, Steady Divine. Love you back. You know, thank you all so much. And like I say, here at Live Blessed Global Ministries, we do respond to others positively. We believe in uplifting. Our motto is always and always will be empowering. Welcome, welcome home. We love you much. Have a good night. And on the replay, hit the hearts and share this with someone if you've been blessed. God bless you. I've been blessed just spending time with you all. Somebody is telling me to sing. Maze 385, Steady Divine, sing. How y'all know I can sing? I guess y'all can tell there's something else to this voice, huh? Well, God bless y'all. And guess what? Maybe next time. So you got to keep following the scopes. You got to keep following the scopes. Keep following the scopes. Thank you all. Yes, I receive. Keep following the scopes. And next time I will, okay? So next time I will. Love you all. Good night. Your Midnight Midwife, RomonicaJones. And guess what? Remember to count the cost. Love you all back. Thank you for the hearts, Maze and Steady Divine and Lynn. You all have a good night. Be blessed. All right.